Hey, how's it going? Mike from LI Flies Mike here. And I've been fly tying for quite a while now, probably almost over 22, 23 years now. Over the years, I've gotten interested in different styles and techniques of fly tying, and I've gone through phases where I've enjoyed tying a particular type of fly more than others, and vice versa. And as someone who's been commercially fly tying professionally for a living now for almost over 10 years, after tying the 200th surf candy in the past month, things can get a little stagnated, and it's hard at times to get inspiration or to find new ideas and try and expand your horizons in fly tying. It's very easy to fall into a trap, if you will, or fall into the same old techniques and flies that we tend to tie time and time over again. And that's not a bad thing, but I think it is important to expand your horizons. And recently I haven't really been doing that much. So the inner nerd inside of me that loves tabletop role-playing games like D&D or Savage Worlds, or tabletop war games like Warhammer, one-page rules, Trench Crusade, stuff like that, utilizes a lot of dice. And I've done solo tabletop role-playing before in the past on my second channel, Mike Rolls Dice, and I've utilized a lot of random tables. So thinking about this more, I figured, dice and random tables, this is something I use all the time. I essentially decided, let's come up with a table of techniques that we can roll on with the dice, and then we can either come up with a table of materials, or really what I did is, you'll see I had my YouTube and Twitch chats actually vote in polls to decide what sort of materials we were going to use. So for instance, you'll see here we decided the tail section, the body, and the head. But anyways, this is kind of I thought this would be a fun idea, and it definitely pushed me to try some new things and tie materials in ways that I never have before. So if you're interested in trying this out yourself, let me know down in the comments. We're going to refine it some more, but I think we're going to make a sheet, like a PDF that you can download. And if you don't have dice, you can always use something like Google, and you can roll random dice on there. Anyways, let's get into some footage from our live stream from last Friday and see how we developed our tables and this sort of mechanic or the system live. All right, what techniques should I use? We'll go, obviously there's many different types, but I'll just start off with like V-tie as a technique for a 1 on the D8. So when we roll a 1, that's a 5, but if we rolled a 1, we would have to use a V-tie. So give me some more techniques. There's obviously hollow ties as well. We'll make a hollow tie an 8. You want to space it out so like the wild techniques are on the far end. So maybe V-tie shouldn't be a 1, but maybe we move V-tie. V-tie might go in the middle. So you know what I'm saying? Like the easiest or the like most common techniques are in the middle, and the most wild ones are on the outside, because you're more likely to roll like a 2 to 7, I feel like. Maybe not, but that's how they do that with tables a lot of times. Go for it. What should we use? In the meanwhile, give me some options for techniques. I'm gonna put hollow technique for an 8. I'm gonna put V-tie as a 4. What's another crazy technique? Like we have hollow tying is pretty wild. What's another wild technique? Maybe spinning hair? Like hollow is pretty interesting, right? Hollow tying. Dubbed could be a body or technique. Yeah, you could dub. I'll put dubbing on 5. No, I'll put dubbing on 2. I'm also just going to put like standard, because standard, in my opinion, is kind of like just tying the material normally, where it's just going off the back. I'm just going to put that. Yeah, but brush, I want it to be where you can take any material and do it. Theoretically, you could take any material and dub it. You could take any material and hollow tie it, even if it's flash. You know what I mean? I think spinning. I'm going to put spinning up here, because you can spin stuff. I don't know if that will apply. We can always adjust this, right? This is a good idea to do this anyway, just to like come up with all the different techniques you can do in saltwater fly tying. There is like cross tying, for materials, which is similar to V tying. What would that be? Figure 8? I'm going to put it down. like a merkin, building a body that way. Palmered's a good one. Yep, because you can wrap stuff. Even though that may not work for everything, you could. That's still, we can always re-roll if it's not applicable, I guess. And this is our first iteration. We can like come up with a new list. There's got to be one more technique. The other option is what I like to call semi-hollow, where it's like where we do Senno's laser dub, and I tie it in the middle. So it's like half the material is tied normally, and then half the material is folded back like a hollow tie. I don't know that if there's a name for it. We should come up with a name for it. I'm just gonna put for now. We'll call it the half hollow. That's kind of what I've been calling it, the half hollow technique. And you'll see how it works. And now the whole idea is I have you guys vote on the materials, and then I roll up randomly how I tie those materials on the hook. So YouTube's tied between synthetic hairs and feathers for the tail section, and let's see what Twitch's poll results are. Synthetic hair. Okay. Feathers for the body. Yes. And for the head section, that is what you are voting on. Is flash. So we're going flash for the head. Ooh. All right. So now the real tricky part. Now this is where RNG can really screw me up. Is if we roll hollow tying with flash, for instance, or like spinning flash. Like, how are we gonna, we're gonna have to spin like deer hair with flash. That could be interesting. I think I already know what I would do for that. I'd probably use like angel hair or something. Anyways, let's roll on the table of doom and see what we get. All right. So first up, for the synthetic hair, how will we be tying our synthetic hair for the tail? We're going to be hollow tying the synthetic material for the tail. That's good. I like that. I've hollow tied for tail sections before, and synthetics are no different. What are we going to do for the feathers? Now this, oh God, this could be interesting. Now, I don't think I've ever V-tied feathers. Imagine we took marabou and V-tied the marabou. Like, I've never done that once in my life, but now I'm looking at the list and I'm like, oh, well, that's something you can do. What if we figure 8-tied feathers? For what, I don't know why, but what if we did? I don't know, fins or something. So that's pretty interesting. But what I think is, if it says we're going to be using feathers for the body, that means I should, for like the majority of the material that I'm using for the body should be feathers, for instance. The Table of Doom! Oh my God, all right. Now this is, if anybody, let me tell you something. I'm an anomaly when it comes to dice rolling. I rolled 3 16s on D100s. If you don't know what a D100 is, I was filming a video for 5 Parsecs yesterday, or the other night, for my second YouTube channel. I rolled 3 of the same results 3 times in a row. So a D100, you have essentially D10s. It goes 1 through 10. Then you have your 10s die. So this goes 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 100, or 90 and 100. So I rolled this 3 times, and I got a 16 twice, or 3 times in a row. So there's something, I'm just saying, we might get another hollow tie. My ability to roll the same result on dice is astonishing. I did it again! I just rolled the dice too. I'm shaking it. It only happens when it matters. It only happens when it matters. All right, we got another. Oh, there's another 8. All right, we got a hollow. We're hollow tying the flash for the head. My God. Well, if you're not like me, you will get other results. If you're like me, you'll just roll the same thing on the table. The same. Somehow you'll mathematically be an anomaly. But for other people, you will get other results. All right. Okay, so that being said, we're hollow tying synthetic hair for the tail. We're hollow tying feathers for the body. And we're hollow tying flash for the head. All right. Let's make Popovix proud. All right, so now that we've rolled up our random techniques and our random materials, we're going to go ahead and show you how we tie the 888 hollow fly. So as always, the full list of materials will be down in the description below. We're going to be using the Gamakatsu SL12S big games in size 2-odd, as that's kind of a good size for what we're using, and we're using some mono thread as well. So again, we're going to be using some white squimpish blend here. This is what the chat recommended, and we're going to be hollow tying it because we rolled an 8 on the table and we randomized the technique. So what we're going to do, taking a nice bunch of white squimpish hair. If you've watched the channel before, you've seen me tie some squimpish hollows. If not, you should check it out. But after getting all the short hairs out of the way, we're just going to do a couple loose wraps. It's important not to have too many thread wraps on your hollow ties. And we're just going to go ahead and get the material evenly spread. Then we can go ahead and take our fancy tool here, my spool of thread, and just push this back, weaving my thread through, being careful not to catch any of the materials, and then I can start building up my thread dam in front of the material. Again, with the hollow tie, you can check out my bucktail hollow fly tying video. The whole idea is we build a thread dam or a wall of thread in front of the material that's under tension, and by doing that, we can then adjust the angle of the hair in terms of the flare by just wrapping either more material, or more thread I should say, or we can back off our thread and have, you know, we can adjust the flare of the fly by how much thread we build up in front of the material. So next we're going to move forward some for our next hollow tie. Again, we rolled up feathers for the hollow tie. So I decided, what's something that I've never done? Well, I've never hollow tied just feathers before, and I know two good materials for this would be ostrich herl and marabou. So we're going to take some white ostrich herl because ostrich herl has a natural curve to it, and I've used it before hollow tying it on the outside of bucktail. So it ends up working pretty good. So what we're going to do is take some ostrich herl here, and it's important, we're going to start out a little long, but on our next tie forward, it's important not to make the ostrich herl too long, because it will wrap around the hook and foul. Now we're further back, so we should be okay here. So again, we're not working with bucktail. I decided we'll go with a pretty healthy amount of ostrich herl because, again, we're going to need to build up our hollow fly with the feathers. So we're going to go ahead and just tie. I'm just filling up our... Something I need to explain is that whatever you tie first on a hollow tie will be on the outside because you're folding it. So on the inside, I decided to put some marabou, not only to fill up the body a little bit, also to provide some support behind the ostrich herl, because ostrich herl is not as stiff as bucktail. So if we build up a little bit of a body or cushion on the inside with the marabou, then we can have some tension underneath that ostrich herl. So after getting my thread weave through, it's important to kind of jiggle your thread up and down to weave it through the ostrich herl. I'm going to go ahead and, just like we normally do with a hollow tie, again, carefully pull my thread through and then start wrapping a thread dam in front. Now you can see, even though ostrich herl and marabou isn't anything like bucktail, we are still getting essentially a very similar result. And I was actually really happy with this. I've never done this before. This is going to be something that I incorporate in some other patterns, but you can see here the beautiful profile that we get by just having that marabou on the inside of that ostrich herl and hollow tying it. And you can see here, once we folded it back, the ostrich herl is on the outside, the marabou's on the inside. So what I'm going to do is, because we still have some more room here, remember the last thing we're doing for the head is flash. So we have a little bit more room here in the body. So I'm just going to do one more ostrich and marabou hollow tie. You don't want too much of a gap between a hollow tie made up of nothing but polar flash. So I figured it'd be a good idea to have another ostrich and marabou tie somewhat close to that final tie up front, which is just purely going to be flash hollow tied. So after getting our marabou and ostrich churl here, and making sure it's, you want enough of this marabou on the inside to where it not only gives us a nice silhouette and body to the profile, but it's also going to provide support for our ostrich churl. So just add material as you see fit to try and get a pretty decent amount. Again, we don't want it to be too bulky, but you'll see here in the water, this fly is going to come to life. So again, we're going to weave our thread through, being certain not to catch any of the materials. You can see here I'm trying to manipulate that ostrich churl so I don't wrap on top of it. And then we just wrap in front. Same thing as our usual hollow ties. And again, look at the exaggerated flare on that ostrich churl. If you build up a minimal amount of thread, you can get a very interesting profile with this. I think this is probably something we're going to incorporate into some sort of a squid pattern we're going to have to come up with. Maybe we'll roll it up on the roll your own fly table. All right, so for the last vote, we got flash for the head and we got 8 for a hollow tie. So we're going to hollow tie some flash. Oh, and we broke the thread too, so I decided then it would be better to probably split this up, but one of our viewers, Craggerroll, recommended some polar flash for the material, and this is different than your normal flashaboo because it has some more texture to it. It's almost like a synthetic material, but it's purely flash. So this is actually a great material for something like this technique, and this is something that you're going to need to think about if you're trying to roll up your own fly with this. How are you going to palmer a certain type of material, or how are you going to V-tie feathers or something? You're going to need to think about what sort of feathers or what sort of flash material to use. But anyways, we've gotten our polar flash tied here, and we're just going to use the spool of thread here or any sort of pusher tool. Half of a TD Bank pen is another close second favorite of mine. And we're just going to weave our thread through, being careful not to catch any of the material. At this point, what you can do is you can kind of spread the flash around, being certain that it's evenly distributed 360 degrees. And then we can start building our thread dam. Now, because the flash is going to need the least amount of thread to kind of control it or get that flare in control. So we don't need much here. And I still want that nice hollow profile. All we're going to do here after building up a small thread dam is throw in a couple whip finishes, and then we can go ahead and either put some head cement, or you'll see here I'm going to use a little bit of super glue. But real quick, we're going to brush it out first. I always love brushing out our flies. Plus the marabou, the ostrich churl, the squimpish, the flash, all this stuff can get caught under itself when you're tying it. So it's always a good idea to brush your flies out. So we're just going to take a little bit of super glue here and just put this because I forgot my thread cement. But, while I was filming this and while we were live streaming, I was like, this is great. Like, I've never tied ostrich churl and marabou like this. I've never hollow tied pure flash before. But just by randomizing the materials and randomizing the techniques, I ended up doing something that this fly I really enjoy. And we decided to call it the 888's hollow fly because we rolled 3 8s. So again, it's just a hollow fly, but by just changing the materials, we ended up getting a pretty interesting fly. I mean, the profile on this and what you're going to see, we're going to throw it in the swim tank. I think it came out great. So now this time we ended up rolling all 8s, but I'm curious to see what happens next time we try this. And I think we're going to try and make this like a regular video series to where we're going to roll up random materials and techniques, and then we're going to tie the fly, and then what I'm thinking is maybe possibly go out and fish them and see how they work. Throwing this in the tank here, and again, I was really surprised with the marabou and the ostrich hollow tying it like that. And we still get a nice profile. I mean, if I show you some of our hollow flies in the water with bucktail hollow, that is, very similar profile. So I'm very surprised that the biggest takeaway I got from this is the ostrich turtle with the marabou on the inside, hollow tide. I think that's a very valid sort of hollow technique we can start using from now on, because I'm very happy with that. But anyways, if you'd like to see, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see me roll up my own fly in the future and possibly go out and fish them and maybe make a little mini series out of it, please let me know in the comments down below. And what I'm thinking is I'll possibly make up a sheet, like a PDF, with the tables. Either you can fill it out, or it'll have predetermined, you know, we could have the 4 materials and then the 8 techniques. So if you're interested in possibly trying this out for yourself, or you want me to make up, I can make up a document so you can either download or print it out. So let me know if you're interested in that. I'll try and put something together. I think we're going to make this a regular series called the Roll Your Own Fly Challenge. If somebody has a catchy name for this, because I don't know if the Roll Your Own Fly table sounds the best, but maybe the Table of Doom. Or if you have any recommendations for different techniques or any way we can possibly improve this fun little game, if you will, let me know. So hopefully you enjoyed. My name is Mike from LI Flies Mike. We have new fly tying and fly fishing videos coming out every week. We have live fly tying on Friday nights, which is where this idea came from and some of this video was filmed. And we have early access for members. Well, thank you so much. Have a great season out there this year. Tight lines.